there is a reported increase in illegal mining activity in some parts of Limpopo. Parliamentary portfolio committees on mineral resources, energy, police and home affairs recently visited the province. For more on this, the committee chairperson on mineral resources and energy, Sahlulele Luzipo, joins us now. Very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. What was the outcome of your meeting with the different departments coming together to try and get to the bottom of the root causes of the problem?
Look, we think that obviously there will be divergent views that we received when we went there as the three portfolio committees on mineral resources and energy, police, as well as the portfolio committee on home affairs. The first thing that one could say is that when we were at Beckersford and Stelford, one of the things that we discovered was that you had a different type of illegal mining activities, which is locals that are doing it for themselves. And the major concern that we have was that there is a risk of legacy challenges that might be there in terms of the rehabilitation of those areas. So that is one part that we think it's important that we take note of, because that poses future problems. The second part is what we call the violent side of illegal mining, which is what we found when we were at the Capricorn district, which includes Bulogwane, where we found that there was hardcore mining activities that the communities were complaining about violent acts. For an example, some will say they can't walk out even at any time after 3 o'clock. They need to be home by 3 o'clock. They were saying there were many cases of rape that were reported, and those were some of the things that we were confronted with. And obviously now we will be moving to the Free State and Gauteng to also get the extent of the phenomenon in those areas.
So with the sort of red flags that pretty much point to what could become the Krugersdorp incident, where we saw the gang rape of 8 women and the devastation experienced by community members there, who also echo the same sentiments. There's certain times that they cannot leave their homes. What sort of intervention are you looking at there? Because we know that Police Minister Bigicele has now boosted police officers in Krugersdorp to ensure the safety of residents and ensure that some arrests are made.
Look, there are many things that obviously that will have to be taken into consideration. For an example, one of the things that we may have to look at is the harmonization of legislation so that we reduce activities. Yes, South Africa is a fact. It's infested with high levels of crime, in particular gender-based violence and other ills. So we are looking at, obviously we'll have to look at the phenomenon, but also what interventions could be made. That is why we put the three portfolio committees, which is Home Affairs, Mineral Resources and Energy, and Police, because it's a multifaceted challenge. You still do have a problem of border challenges, which is why you will then find that most of these people that are declared to be committing this type of crimes are is undocumented foreign nationals. On the other side, there are challenges of police work that has to be done to just deal with criminal elements. Then there is the lag that we say it feeds on these kind of criminal activities. The need to strengthen legislation with regards to issues of insolvency, because in some cases, including the case of Krugersdorp, it's just a matter where some of these companies, they apply through the normal law of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, which is the MPRDA. But when they are faced with financial challenges, they then opt for the insolvency route, which allows then the use of business rescue practitioners. In the process, then it is very difficult for the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy to intervene, because that, in terms of the Companies Act, is allowed, and it then open up space for illegal mining activities to take place. And that is one of the things that we intend to look at. But also in terms of a strict regulation of the gold industry, because that is where we face particular challenges, so that it goes beyond the South African borders. How do we involve the powers of Interpol? How do we make sure that we go through the process that we have seen with regards to diamond? Because it's not easy in South Africa to be found with diamond that you cannot account for. And these are some of the things that we said we need to look at. We also said police must we need to intensify their work, not just to deal with what we call low-hanging fruits, which is your ordinary zamazama. We must deal with the market itself and those kingpins that are the ones that at the end of the day are the ultimate benefiters of this illegal activity.
With that in mind, there have been complaints by community members that the police stations are under-resourced and they simply cannot do the work that would extend to that scope of ensuring that illegal mining and other crimes are dealt with. What's going to happen there?
Look, I think it's a general trend. You may go in any area, especially what one would say from the townships of your rural areas. There's always a cry that police stations are shortchanged. But also we shouldn't hide the fact that in some of the areas, even if you, for instance, when we were in Polokwane, we were told that in the area where we were, which is the one that has got a serious problem of illegal mining, the Zamazamas, where crime is committed, at times they say, people will just come into the tavern, put everyone down, they take away their belongings, and women are being raped and so forth. But they were saying the problem, they've got one mobile police station with one police officer doing that. And through the portfolio committee on police, they gave an assurance and a guarantee that they will push that by today at least there has to be, that number must have been increased. But generally, there are other problems that we can't hide. There are allegations that are being made even against some of the police officers that, in fact, they are part of this syndicate, to an extent that they are seen at times carrying the same material to out of the sites where mining is taking place. There are allegations that some of the members of the community are the ones that are ears and eyes for these illegal mining activities, to an extent that after every report, after every meeting, they are the ones who go back and report there. There are allegations even against the department, the officials of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, that they are also participant in these activities. Lastly, there are concerns that probably those that we think that they are informal mining activities are the ones that are behind this exercise, so that they may avoid paying the required revenue to the state.
And so that now speaks to a very urgent plan of action that needs to take place. I mean, you make mention of some intervention that's happening from today, but when it comes to going around and conducting that search, the oversight visit by the police minister, to at least instill some sense of confidence within community members that something is being done, and it's not just a visit to assess what they already know, but action would be something that would make the biggest of differences.
Well, I can't speak for the minister, but you will recall that our duty is lawmakers. If in the way, for instance, as we have gone to Limpopo, this weekend we'll be in Welcome on Saturday, and Sunday we'll be working around Gauteng. We also intend to be in Barberton in Mpumalanga, and back to Gauteng, then the Northwest. We are doing this so that we can look to the extent that which areas we might have weaknesses. Do we have weaknesses in terms of legislation, or do we have weaknesses in terms of management of operations within the department? And how do we make sure that we enhance those areas? Surely, obviously, if there is a lack, or the legislation is not giving us enough space to deal with these matters, then we will have to say either we review the legislation and make a request for particular amendments, or if it means we have to reintroduce a new legislation, then we'll have to do so. But also we have to look at is there another problem? For an example, to what extent are we dealing here? Yes, it's crime that is taking place, but to what extent that we might be dealing with a simple case of corruption that is quite endemic in society in general, and therefore those are the things that we hope we'll be able to bring and say, these are the areas if we may need to tighten up the screws.
And as you make mention of legislation, of course there's been calls to legalize the sector into a professional business with owners, with mining license, especially as you make mention of the unique situation that you came across, saying that locals are mining themselves in some instances, which you fear may create a legacy challenge.
Yes, most definitely. That is why. Well, I can't speak on behalf of the committee now because we have not concluded that there is no position that has been taken. But quite clearly, in some cases, like you said, you need to fast track what we call artisanal mining. Those are your small scale mining activities, and that can be made possible, and it can be made much faster. One of the things we've said is that we may have to look at the legislation again. That is why we look forward to what the department is proposing in terms of the upstream petroleum resources bill. We think that it will assist to deal with the issue of artisanal mining. For instance, on challenges of all having them to meet all the requirements that are ordinarily there for your big companies that can afford. So we'll have to look at these particular options and say, here at least, in order to fast track and loosen up this challenge, we must be able to put what I would call a special dispensation, depending on the magnitude of the nature of that business and that mining activity. So yes, we agree with you that we need to fast track the issue of artisanal mining. And we think it will make a lot of difference as far as even for the state revenue generation and to address the challenges of unemployment and poverty.
Very well. Thank you so much for weighing in this conversation. Sahlulele Luzipo, Parliament's Chairperson on Mineral Resources and Energy, speaking to about the illegal mining surging in Limpopo.